Hello, my name is Connor. I like to talk about Japanese music. If you know my channel, that is all I do, and that is all I plan to do. So obviously, in this video, all I want to do is talk about more Japanese music. In particular, I want to talk about my favorite 60 Japanese albums of 2025. Oh my god, 60, that's crazy. Yes, it is. So originally, I only wanted 50, but then I found out, wow, this is hard. So ultimately, I set my limit to 60 because I just needed to squeeze 10 more in there. And honestly, I'm really happy I did. This is something of a continuation of my awards video from early January, where I talked about some of my favorite Japanese albums, EPs, and also artists from 2025. And then I sorted them into categories, and then I awarded winners. And so, because this is a special video for the most part, I want to make it a little special too. So I can't snap my fingers, but imagine I snap them here. I don't even know what the motion is. I can't snap my fingers. I also can't whistle. Whoa, I'm in Japan. Hey, I wanted to do a cool, film segment for this part of the video because I would be in Japan, and I was like, well, I'll maybe do something with like a cool background or, something or other like that. But due to certain circumstances such as the weather, the wind chill, I'm here in my hotel room. But guess what? I got this cool backdrop, so we're gonna rock with it. So 60 albums. I am going to go over the first 40 pretty quick, and then the final 20, I am really going to get in depth with why I think they are so great and why they are placed where they are placed. So, hey, you know what? Let's get to it. Okay, so at 60, we are going to have Uncertain Future by Futurina. Number 59 is Lovescape by Kuyuru. Number 58 is Febrile by She, Her, Her, Hers. Number 57 is going to be Tsukuya Kana ne Dai by Saiwai na Heya. Number 56 is Asleep Above Creatures by Misaki Ume. Number 55 is Yubiori 2 by Yubiori. Number 54 is Colorless You by Moon in June. Number 53 is a mouthful. This is going to be Brighter Summer August Repeats Like the Tide by Pear Soda. Number 52 will be Title Club with their album Plural Pain Packs. Number 51 is Throw Away the Water, Go Back to Intimacy by Mizui Razu. In the number 50 spot, we have Masterpiece by Soft Music. Number 49 is going to be Shion by Yukiguni. Number 48 is going to be Sekai, You and Me by Moreru. 47 will be Antigone by Eiko Ishibashi. Number 46 is going to be All Imperfect Summerland by the Odals. Number 45 is going to be Obscure Object by Bloom Popo. Number 44 will be Mutis Beach by the Mercedes Men's. Number 43 is going to be IE by Avis. Number 42 is Don't Laugh It Off by Hitsuji Bungaku. Number 41 is going to be Bokeh by Hime Uzu. Number 40 is Memorai 2 by Kondo. Number 39 is going to be Nichijou Shometsu by Kinoe 64. 38 is going to be Kids Return by Kuni. 37 is Internet by Soccer. Number 36 is Yura by April Blue. Number 35 is going to be Euphobia by Emma Aibara. Number 34 is Arc by Hard Nuts. Number 33 is going to be Isho ni Mono no Hizashi by Rusantiman. 32 is White by Ray. 31 is Strange Pop by Mao Sasagawa. Number 30 is Da Sting by Aldo Van Eyck. Number 29 is going to be Shinkiro no Machi by Shinkiro no Machi. 28 is Honto no Koto by Yeti Let You Notice. Number 27 is Sono Nonika in My Days by H Factory. 26 is going to be Hoshin by Eiichi Kyo. Number 25 is Flowering by The Floatings. Number 24 is Hako by Kaki. Number 23 is Mofu Mofu by Yuka Nagase. Number 22 is En by Hitohira. And then finally for this section, at number 21 is going to be Parama by Fujikaze. Okay, and then now we are at the number 20 spot, which is going to be The End of Sleepwalker's Journey by Yamazaki. This is an album that came out in like late December. I want to say December 24th. And oh my god, I loved it so much. I immediately purchased it on Bandcamp for like $6, which is an amazing price, by the way. This is the coolest, okay, maybe not the coolest, but for sure one of the coolest blown out sounding dancey rock albums. I think if this had come out earlier in the year, I would have considered this for my best fuzz rock album of the year category because it definitely stands way above a lot of albums. Frankly, I'm not quite sure what I would rate this out of 10. It's at least a 9. It could maybe even be a 10, but it's only been out for about a month, so I want it to soak in a little bit more. I really don't even know what to say other than I really love everything about this. And honestly too, I think for that reason, that's kind of why I'm considering it a 10, because I can't find any flaws. I'm trying to, I really am. I'm trying to be fair, but I think being fair in this case means rating it a 10. Maybe. Okay, and so now number 19 is going to be Nemuru Walls by Lower Day Romance. This is an album that I feel like I've been talking all year about, though not so much on my YouTube. And that's because there was a part 2 to this coming out that is a direct sequel to the storyline introduced on this album, but I wanted to wait to make a video on it until that part 2 came out, so that way I could talk about the whole story. I still would like to this year, it's just that the part 2 came out, I think, also on December 24th, so like, I had no time. But I do plan to have some time for it sometime this year. This is an album that is a lot of alternative rock, maybe a little indie rock, maybe even a little indie pop, but it does introduce a lot of pop and also electronic a little bit too. It's so quaint, it's so thematic, and there is a lot of really great riffs and rhythms and melodies and vocals all across every part of every song here. It's a real grab bag of an album, I feel like, where no two songs quite sound the same, though I would still call them all, at the very least, alternative rock. Basically, I just think that this is an album that knows what it wants to be, and it really executes that well. The second album is titled Nemuru Bridges, and that, of course, plays into the whole theme of the story, and I'll talk about it later, but check these albums out if you haven't. 1 and 2 are both fantastic, though weirdly enough, I even feel like part 2 is less rock and more pop, though I would still call it a rock album mainly. So it's really interesting. It's really not like anything else that immediately comes to mind. It's really special, it's really unique, and for that reason, it's a great listening experience. Okay, so next up I want to talk about Is Summer Near by Nothing Out the Window. This is an album that I think I've been talking a lot about throughout the last half of 2025 and across maybe 3 separate videos. This album is effectively split into 2 separate sections. The first is going to be very much garage rock and maybe even psychedelic rock and also Midwest emo, though the second half is a lot more post-rock, yet still also Midwest emo too, just a lot heavier. This is an album that really surprised me for a few reasons. I think primarily it's because the artist here, they are relatively unknown, and to be honest with you too, I don't even know or remember how I came across it. Maybe it was just on Twitter. But I mean, really all I can say is that I just feel like this band has a ton of potential. This is actually an album that I want to say I purchased digitally after my second listen because I was just blown away at how much I enjoyed every single aspect of it, which I feel like is very rare for a new band to achieve for me. For that reason, I was just really, really taken aback in the best way possible. I think I'm going to continue loving it for a long time, but this is easily a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. I really, really love everything about this, and I honestly cannot recommend it enough. This is just great, great Midwest emo. Number 17 is going to be Yo by Peter Parker 69. This is an album that I also would say that I fell in love with almost immediately. I think this one took me a few more listens, but I have to say that I love the level and complexity of the electronic songs across this entire album. On top of that, there are wonderful features that I enjoy whenever they show up. With that said too, it is even hard for me to choose, but I think I've maybe nailed it down to the one featuring Tennyson and the other featuring Yojiro Noda from Radwimps. I just think that those 2 songs are great collaborative efforts that really elevate what I already really liked on this album. So I think to me, this album just really captures the energy of, you know, feeling alive at some kind of function or party or something like that. It just feels so organic, even though you are listening to electronic music here. It just sounds like you're part of a crowd and you're part of a party, even if you are alone in your room listening to it. I would really say that the production on this entire album is just infectious, and I feel it in my bones, and I think that's what's making me dance. The production here is kind of like puppeting me to enjoy it as much as I am physically with my body. And again, this is one that I have to recommend you check out because it is just one of the best electronic albums of 2025, and I do not say that lightly because there were some great contenders. Number 16 is going to be NB2 by No Buses. This is actually one album that got a full review from me back in, I want to say, summer of last year. This is just such a great and interesting mix of very complex alternative rock songs. What's really interesting to me too is that No Buses has always been a band that is very obviously paying homage to the Strokes, but on here I find that they really broaden their sound palette and also their inspirations in that way. Like for instance, I hear a lot more of the Police here, which I think is awesome, especially on the song Inaho. I really cannot stop listening to that song, and I do wish this was on Bandcamp so I could support it in that way on Bandcamp Friday. I think in my mind, this is a great new entry into the band's discography that, you know, really just has me wanting more. I think for that reason, I am just now very excited for MB3 or whatever they're going to call their next album. It could be anything. So, I mean, if they want to keep making sequels to their like old albums, with this being NB2, if they wanted to make a sequel to Sweet Home, which is probably still my favorite album of theirs, though this is a really close second, I would love that. I really like Sweet Home, and if they wanted to do some more, you know, kind of instrumentals for rappers, that sounds awesome. Okay, so number 15 is going to go Who's in the House by Daylo. This is one that I unfortunately did not have a chance to talk about, but it is one that I wanted to talk about pretty much all year long after it released. This is on Bandcamp. I highly recommend you buy it on there. I have because I love this. This is something that I would have easily and happily rated a 10 if I had made a video on it, which I did not get a chance to, like I said. So here, officially, this is a 10. I love the throwback to 70s, 80s, and 90s Brit, I guess pop technically, but I would really just say like classic British rock that is not progressive rock. There is a lot here that really also reminds me of The Police and The Clash, and that's a sound I like. It's weird that we got like 2 albums like that in 1 year, but hey, I love the Strokes and I love those, you know, other British bands. I got no complaints. This is not your typical rock album though. Like I said, it's very much a throwback sound to that very, maybe even like 60s or 70s rock, which is gonna be maybe not for everyone, maybe because it's just too like old school, if you will. But I think if you just enjoy the sound of really fun rock music with just really skilled instrumentation, you will have nothing to complain about this album at all, because that is exactly what is on here, and it's why I rate it a 10. It's just really, really fun to listen to. And I feel like rock music nowadays isn't always trying to be fun, and whenever it can be, I love it. Number 14 is going to be Indissolve by Acid Clank. This is one of the albums that I started 2025 off by making a review for, and that's because this is, again, one of my favorite electronic albums of 2025. I do think Yo is the better electronic album, but I feel like this is much more explorative and in that way more experimental and also progressive electronic than Yo. So that's kind of why I am rating it higher here. This has some of the best mixing I've ever heard in my whole life, and that is going to really trump a lot of what I guess else I will talk about on a list or rate on a list, because I just really appreciate great masterful mixing, and that is what is on here. What's really interesting about this album is that I find that it really captures all kinds of electronic sounds. There is some drum and bass, there is some kind of glimmery shoegaze electronic, there is some electro pop, again there is some kind of like progressive electronic, if you will. There is just a lot of exploration of sound and then how that sound can be utilized in the songs that is really making this feel like a full body journey and an experience. That aspect is not something that I feel like you can ascribe to every electronic album. While yes, this is at times trying to be fun and dancey, there is a lot more emotional work here at play too, which again, I just think makes it a little bit superior to Yo overall, though I rated Yo so high in my awards video because I just like fun electronic music, baby. And I guess now on the opposite end of the spectrum is going to be the number 13 pick, and that is going to be Kantenboki by Kisel. This is a very quiet, very contemplative, jazz, almost traditional Japanese album. This is another album that got a solo review from me back, I want to say, again, in the middle of last year. There are so many moments on this album that just feel like you're waking up. And it's almost like you're waking up in the best life that you could possibly have. There is just so much idyllicness here on this album that is so audible and pungent, that is really setting it above a lot of other jazz albums that I heard this year, of which I have heard many. There were some great jazz albums. I could not stop talking about them this year. Oh my god. Since I have somewhat talked about this album at length, I would really recommend you just watch my video on it. I feel like I was fairly thorough, and then I do also talk about some of the lyrics on there too, so go check that out. This is what the thumbnail looks like. I think you will really enjoy it if you just like really soft jazz. Nothing too crazy, nothing too wild, nothing too energetic. Jazz for waking up. Lovely. Okay, so now I guess we'll be swinging the pendulum the other way, because we are going to be talking about a very rowdy rock album, which is going to be Decline by Doer. This is an album I love. It was a surprise drop, and I think maybe that's why I loved it so much, because I went in shaking and startled, like, oh my god, there's new Doer? He's back? He reactivated his social media? Perfect. And because of that, I didn't really have any expectations other than, okay, well, I've heard Suppression, so let's hear what this new one sounds like. I was blown away in every aspect. This album essentially takes everything I loved about Suppression and turns it up to not 11, not 12, not 13, not 14, 15. Okay, there is so much coolness oozing out of every song, but that coolness is like a goo that is covered in electronics and circuitry, because this is such a really blown out sounding album that it almost sounds like an electronic album due to the fact that everything is just so compressed sounding. It sounds like there is this overarching presence of electronics, despite that not quite being the case. Yes, there are some effects. Yes, that is how the percussion is operating, but primarily, this is still a rock album. Yes, I would call this a noise rock album. Yes, I would call this an art rock album. Yes, I would call this punk rock too. But I feel like this is something else. And that's why in my awards video, I actually had to make a new category for this kind of music, in which I called it fuzz rock. Because this is just so unlike anything else that you can't really constrain it using conventional genre nomenclature. I really feel like fuzz rock really gets the point across of like, this is just really blown out and compressed and lo-fi. There is no real good category for that. Sure, I guess you can call it lo-fi rock, but again, I just feel like it's much, much more. I think what really does it for me on this album though is that I find that a lot of the melodies and the hooks are just so catchy and dancey and get stuck in my head. Mr. Doer was nice enough to actually let me use my favorite song on the album as the intro song for my awards video after I asked him. Very much appreciate that. Oh my god. This favorite song of mine is called Loser in English, and it is just a banger of a track. It sounds like a rallying cry for when you're entering the live house. It just sounds like the start to a fun night. Even though the lyrics are not really in line with that, that's just how the song feels, and it's also how the song makes me feel. It's like you're pre-gaming the concert, or the album even in this case, and I really just love everything about this song and so many more that are like it on this album. So I guess in essence, I would like to talk about this album more. I just don't know in what kind of format, but I'm sure I'll figure that out. I just need to figure it out. So I'll let you know. You'll be around, I hope. Oh, and with that said, hey, I mean, if you want to stick around, you can like, subscribe, favorite, tell all your friends. I'll be here, and I'd love for you to be here too. So hit that subscribe, which is maybe like down there somewhere. It should be. I don't know. Anyway, let's keep going. We are now at number 11, and the number 11 spot is going to go to Fight by Cobalt Boy. This is another album that I could not keep my trap shut about all year long. This is just such a crazy sunburst, sunset vibed album. I can close my eyes and I see swaying palm trees. I see the sun setting and the darkness encroaching in the sky, yet there are still clouds that are outlined by that sunset. There are birds across that sunset. Waves are crashing against my ears, even though I'm not at the water's edge. This album is just so evocative of all kinds of imagery for me that I am just really in love with it. Luckily, this came out on vinyl, so I purchased it on vinyl, and I'm so happy I got it because this is something that I am going to enjoy forever. I truly wish I could have rated this higher, but there was just too much good music. Okay, I'm sorry. I really love this, and that's because I love the work from every member of the band. They are all consistently standing out in some way on every single song, and I just cannot get any of the songs on this album out of my head, because not only are they that perfect, they are just that memorable. There's just nothing like it. This is a wonderful album. I really, truly love this. Please check this out. Okay, so we are now at the number 10 spot. Only 10 left. The best of the best. But, I mean, this whole video is kind of the best of the best. So, yeah. Number 10 is going to be an album that I called one of my favorite shoegaze albums of all time. This is going to be Hokorobi by Beachside Talks. While there is a ton that I want to say about this album, I've actually already said most of it in other videos. This is one that got its own solo review back in like the midway point of last year. And then I also talked about it a lot in the awards video. I also talked about it in a Bandcamp video too. So with that said, I would really consider this an album that has been by my side all of 2025 long. And that's because there is so much that I cannot stop loving about this album. I just love every bass line and every guitar lick and every drum pattern and every vocal melody all across this wonderful, huge album. So as I said earlier, I am currently in Japan, and I tried so hard to find this on CD across 4 stores so far. Could not do it. I simply couldn't. But man, I want to own this physically. I actually already own it on Bandcamp, but I need it in my hands. I need to know it's real. I need to know I'm not imagining this wonderful album. I also reached out to Beachside Talks if it was okay for me to use one of their songs from this album in my awards video. They said yes. And I will love them forever for that. That song is titled Dream Up, and it is just filled with the highs of life and living your life. And because it's been with me all year long, I just could not get it out of my head. And for that reason, I wanted it so badly in my awards video, so when they said yes, I was so happy. There is so much about this album that I would say just sounds colorful and happy and lively. It's that really positive sounding kind of shoegaze that, honestly, I don't think it gets better than this. This is just such a great shoegaze album that I really think stands toe-to-toe with some classic albums from, I'd even say like the 80s, and of course the 90s too, but I'm really thinking Cure here. So I will admit that it's a little bit hard for me to figure out what I want to say here because like I said, have been talking about it all year long. So if you do want to hear more in-depth thoughts about this album that I have, video and Bandcamp and also awards video, because I just yap, and I feel like there's nothing else I can put out because I've said everything many times over. And that's just because this album is that good. Lux by Suichu Spika is going to be at the number 9 spot. And what can I say about this album other than that it is a perfect math rock album? I think I'm at the point where I would say that Suichu Spika are in a really good position to be one of the best math rock bands ever, and albums like Lux and their 2 others really drive that home for me. There is so much amazing technical instrumentation skill shown on every song on this album, and it just hits every note perfectly. Yes, pun intended, but also it is doing everything right all the time to be a successful math rock album. It is an instant classic in my opinion, and I almost feel like that's just kind of the general consensus. I really don't think there's going to be much pushback on me saying that. This is just so all-encompassing of everything that the genre of math rock is about, and I don't know how you can have that notion in your head and then not rank this incredibly high on like any year-end list. It's for that reason too that I really hope the lineup for Suichu Spika really stays like this, hopefully forever, because I think everyone in the band is just so perfect at what they're doing in coordination with each other too, that I just don't see them really getting better than this lineup specifically. I'd love to be wrong, but I just think that everyone here is such a perfect fit for what needs to happen on each of these songs, and they are skilled enough to really make that a reality. Some of the songs here are hard-hitting math rock, but then some are so sweet and lovely and glide you across the atmosphere of the planet Earth. It's just really that visual and beautiful, sometimes even relaxing too, I would say, which is not something that, really comes up a lot in math rock, maybe more on the acoustic side, yet still, the band here has really figured out how to just make anything they want with what they have. I just really think that Suichu Spika is all that and a bag of chips, or a bag of Lux, or a bag of Spika. None of these are hitting, are they? In the number 8 spot, we are going to have Kurayami Saka Yori Ai o Komete by Kurayami Saka. This is one of the best debut albums I have ever heard in my whole life. And again, I think that is something that is very much the general sentiment around this album too. It is so emblematic of this fierce tenacity that is really sweeping its way through the Shimokitazawa community, if you will, and I cannot think of a better band doing a better job than Kurayami Saka. There are so many songs on this album, and they all hit perfectly. It's all just very unique and very much in their unique trademark style. That style being pure distilled indie rock, and I guess maybe alternative rock, but indie rock, because this sounds like a lot of other music that has come before, but I really feel like they are pioneering that real current indie sound. There's just something about the sound of every single song individually that really makes it stand out from the huge list of those that are here on the album. Sunday Driver, obviously, Metro, obviously, Evergreen is this beautiful song that for months now I have been saying that it almost sounds like it's written by Ikkyu Nakajima, and for that reason we need to get Kurayami Saka on some kind of Trico, compilation cover album, because they are just tapped into whatever Ikkyu is like having going on in that factory of a brain of hers. But I digress. There is so much that I think is perfect about this album, and it's hard to even really convey those thoughts, because I think that this is one of the many cases of you have to hear it to believe it and experience it to really understand. This is just such a great showing of potential that is going to go down in the history books. I think people are going to be talking about this for decades to come. I really, really do. So I will admit my number 7 pick here is maybe a little bit contentious, and that's because I don't think people get this album. And in trying to make people get this album, I made a video on it back in maybe August or September. That is going to be Luminescent Creatures by Ichigo Alba. My thesis for that video was that this album cannot really be critiqued in any real reviewable sense. This is not something that wants to be ranked and really categorized. There is so much about this album that just does not want to be music. There is so much about this that is like an audio essay about how Ichigo Alba views the relationship between humanity and time and music. I think that thesis and that concept is just so abstract that you really cannot assign a numerical value to something like this that really just does not want to be enjoyed. It wants to be felt. I think that is such a really interesting way for Ichigo Alba to go about making her music, though it's not really out of her wheelhouse in the slightest. Okay, so now I'll actually talk about how this album sounds. This is an album that I find really submerges you in its ambiance and atmosphere and the sound itself, because so much of it is Ichigo Alba trying to get you to hear what she hears, feel what she feels, and sees what she sees. This is so much of her trying to win you over. There is so much that she is trying to explain to you through the use of something familiar like music. And again, I think that is just so uncommon to hear in the music industry that I really cannot ascribe anything to this score-wise or even really rank-wise. Now, of course, I know it's here at number 7. It's a total, contradiction, but I needed to put it on the list. I mean, come on. I love everything about this. I really do not think that Ichigo Alba is going to make something like this again, but I would love it if she did. I really have no issues with this whatsoever, and I really hope that, hey, maybe there's some demos or something that she might release later on, because I would love more of this, even though I don't really expect that to happen. Number 6 is going to be Ishi no Ito by Kaneko Ayano. This is an album that I exorcised out of my body a few months ago, because I have been talking about it in so many videos throughout 2025. Off the top of my head, there are 6. I am so over talking about how great this album is, but I need to do it one final time. This is the sequel that no one wanted to happen. Kaneko Ayano is the name of the band, but she herself is also a singular person with that name. So when I talk about the band, I'll probably just call them KA, and when I talk about her the person, I will just say Kaneko Ayano or Ayano. Okay. A lot of these songs are about how Ayano feels about herself and also her place in the world, and also why the world cannot place her in it. Much of her music is very self-reflective and is about how she feels about herself and why she can't be the Kaneko Ayano that she wants to be. And that continues here, but now the sound of it all is much more complex, and that's because there are now officially band members in the band called KA. I think that new spin on the formula really works in her favor because she is now not just only talking about herself, she is now having to represent other people too. And I think that twist is really fascinating. Like, for instance, there are multiple times on this album where she says we instead of me. And that's something that's fairly new for her. Now, of course, this is not just the Kaneko Ayano show. Her bandmates are killing it here. I think in my awards ceremony video, I had multiple instances of members from Kaneko Ayano being nominated because I loved so much of their work here. Here on this album, there are 2 drummers, and they're both killing it. And I think for Kaneko Ayano, that is really working in her favor because she has this very particular style of pop folk rock that is really expanded here to now encompass noise rock, and also you could maybe even say post-rock, and you could maybe even say like garage rock throwback 60s music too. And obviously I loved it so much it got the number 6 spot, and is that good, baby? I don't even think you really need to do any research about her prior work if you are not familiar with her work, because this is just such a great standalone album, and technically it's a debut album too, because it's for the band. So I think you'll like it if you haven't heard it yet. Number 5 is going to be Konransuru Apotaito by Ivy. This is such a special and amazing experimental electronic shoegaze rock, post-rock, noise rock extravaganza. There is so much here that should not work, and yet it all fits like jigsaw puzzle pieces right into each other because it all makes sense. Somehow, the sole 2 members of this band are able to piece together and to patchwork so many styles of music and just sound in general, I will be getting to that it is really unlike anything else I've ever heard. Those 2 members of the band are named Fuki and Pupu, and they are just giving it their all on every single song here. I loved their EP from 2024. I think I rated it a 7, maybe an 8. I don't quite remember. But this was immediately a 10 upon first listen. There is so much I love about this album, basically because it should not sound this good. This is such an interesting experimental mix of all kinds of sounds even, that sometimes you have sparkling synths, and they're backing some of the like screechiest, harshest guitar wailing you've ever heard. I don't really think that there are many things that could even approach this style of creativity. And so with that said, I don't really know where the band goes from here. Are they going to continue patchworking all kinds of sounds, or are they going to really refine what makes Ivy Ivy? I don't know, but personally, both options sound good to me. I don't think this album is for everyone, but I think when it clicks for you, it's going to click, and your mind is going to open to the 4th dimension, and you'll go, whoa, what is this? It's really, really cool. Okay, and now number 4 is going to be Yuki by Betcover. This is one of the most daring albums I have heard all year, and that is of course reinforced by the fact that Yuki means courage in Japanese. This album to me is so daring because while yes, Betcover have been kind of flirting with jazz music over the past 2 or 3 albums, they have never really fully embraced it. It has always sort of had this tinge of rock, particularly progressive rock, maybe some enka, maybe some pop, and also electronic music too, but this is them going full jazz. Like, this is pure distilled jazz here. And man, does it help that they got Kei Matsumaru to be the saxophonist across this entire album, because he had a crazy 2025. I've been talking about him basically all year because he played with Dos Monos and also Eiko Ishibashi, and he is just everywhere. How is he everywhere? How does he do it? And so, of course, he's here on this album too, helping out that whole jazz vibe that the band has going, and man, it is all the better for it. There is something about this album where I feel like it's always existed. This is so traditional jazz sounding that I don't know how this isn't an album from like 70 years ago, because it just sounds so indicative of that, like I said, pure distilled jazz sound. And I think for an effectively indie rock band to be taking this on is just so remarkable, and it is so successfully done that how is this possible? Each member of this band, I think, just has such a deep understanding of the genre and the flow of songs in the genre that it is really a landmark jazz album, I think, for modern jazz music in general. Not even just Japanese, not even this kind of jazz fusion that they are somewhat known for. And so with that said, I really invite you to check this out. I think that even if you don't like jazz, there is so much to hook you from a rock standpoint that you will really enjoy it regardless. It is such an adventure, and I think the band is able to keep pace in a way that really benefits every single song here. They are also flexible, and again, they are so flexible because they understand the genre incredibly well. And frankly, I would love a second one of these front back cover, but honestly, obviously, they can do anything they want. So I am just along for the ride in any case. The number 3 spot is going to go to another jazz adjacent, rock adjacent album. This is going to be Bout for Everness by Not Wonk. This is one that has really stuck with me for about a whole year now, and it has been one that I go back to almost daily because there are just some songs that have really stuck with me for one reason or another. This is another album where I would really encourage you to check out my awards video where I talk about it a lot. No spoilers, but I talk about it a lot throughout that video. Or maybe if you want to go to the source, you can check out my original review of it, because I feel like I covered the tip of the iceberg, but the more I listened to it, I realized how massive this album is and just how much care and attention and tenderness has really been poured into it. There is nothing quite like the theme of being stuck in a really non-evident, almost destructive mindset. That is explored in the context of not being aware of it, but basically showing signs to everyone you know that yes, that is occurring within you and also from you too out into the world. This is an album where I think the lyrics can kind of help guide you through the concept, but you really actually have to pay attention to the instrumentation because they are doing a lot of heavy lifting for how you should think about the lyrics and also the setting of the lyrics and the mindset too, obviously. Maybe this is when you want to do a little bit of like background research on, just to kind of have a foundation. Like I said, watch my video. There are some interviews with the band about this album, which you can check out too, but they are in Japanese, so good luck. I just think that this is one that will stick with me for a while, and that's because I'll keep thinking about it for a long time too. I just love thinking about this album. It's so cool. There are only 2 albums left. Do you want to take a guess before we get to number 2? What number 2 is? I'll wait. Number 2 is going to be Animaru by May Simonas. Now, for some of you old heads out there, May Simonas won EP of the Year 2024. I was so excited to see what she would come out with next because her and her band have been on such a dramatic trajectory. They are making punk-infused jazz bossa nova music or bossa nova infused and jazz punk music. And I've been calling it Masha Nova because, man, I'd be making stank faces on some of this. But there is so much to love instrumentally and also lyric-wise from everyone in the band, let alone May Simonas herself. May is one of the best guitar players around at the moment, and the fact that so much of her very mathy and, like I said, bossa nova-y guitar licks are just everywhere all the time is just a treat for any listener, in my opinion. And that is, of course, all capped by her wonderful lyricism too. It's so cute and it makes you happy to be alive, being able to listen to music, and it makes you excited for more music. And in my mind, there is just something so addicting about all of these songs that just make me happy or even incredibly sad. Like there are some really melancholy kind of Midwest emo songs such as Rat with Wings, such as Norwegian Shag, such as the final song, which I love so much. I think in my mind, May can do no wrong. I would love to get an EP ASAP because she keeps releasing singles and they're all great. They're all really good. And so actually part of the reason why I'm here in Japan at the moment is because I went to go see her in Nagoya. And boy, that concert was great. She played, I think, 2 or 3 new songs, and EP soon? I mean, album too soon? I don't know. And actually that reminds me too, this is the band's debut album, and for it to be this good right off the bat is impossible. I think I am so excited for album 2. I do not know if it will be leaning more punk, or I guess Midwest emo, or more jazz, or still stay like right in the middle, but I'm happy with whatever we get because this is just perfect. And I know I'm saying that a lot, but I mean, we're in the top 10 here. There's going to be a lot of stuff that I think is just perfect, obviously. Because of that, it was really hard to choose my number one, which I'm going to talk about now. You would probably know what my number one is if you've seen my award video, because obviously I gave it Album of the Year. But in case you haven't, let me save you some time. It's a long video, it's like an hour and a half. My Album of the Year for 2025 is going to be Ecco Lapto Menos by Harune Muri. Harune Muri has never been my favorite artist. She has never been my favorite singer. She has never been my favorite rapper even. She has never been my favorite lyricist. She has never been my favorite producer. There is something that really elevates her to a lot of those positions in my mind here on this album. It is crazy to me that she has written all of this, that she has sung all of this, that she has produced all of this herself to this degree. This, in my mind, is just such a landmark album for Japanese music as a whole, because it is not only tackling all of these ideas that Harune Muri has about herself, it's a lot about the Japanese society around her, but also the status and the condition of the world at large. I think in essence, this is an album about how Harune Muri sees that the world is broken, it's wrong, and no one can fix it because no one wants to fix it. And so because of that, she is not quite taking it on because she wants to, but because she feels like she needs to, because someone needs to, because things need to change. Things are going down in a lot of ways, let's be real. This album is like the perfect mix of hip-hop, of rock, of metal, of spoken word, of pop too, and also electronic music. It's all in a blender, and it's all come out as the most wonderful tasting puree you've ever had. I think when you really get down to it, that's really what the album is trying to impart too. That the world is made up of so many kinds of people and cultures. When you mix us all up, there's really no distinction. And even if there is, it doesn't really matter. Maybe the reason why I like it the most is because this album is able to tackle so many issues, yet still be fun. This is truly a really fun and dancey album that you can't help but at the very least bop your head to. Even when she's talking about, war crimes, it's just such an engaging album, and I really think that's what is really needed when discussing lots of very real topics like this, because you don't want to lose anyone when you're trying to make a very important point. I think being able to be relatable is a really important skill for any kind of artist. Because she constructed the album in this way, I think it just really goes to show how tapped in she is to society and the world at large, and just knows how to win people over. Because I think this won me over pretty handedly, though she didn't really need to do much convincing in my mind. I really think that you should give this a listen. There are English lyric translations available on the Bandcamp page for this album. I highly recommend you check it out. There is no doubt in my mind that this is the best album of 2025. And I really look forward to whatever Harune Muri makes next. I don't know where she can go from here, because I think she has really perfected her formula here. This is easily my favorite project of hers, and I think it might be for the rest of time. This is just a culmination of everything in her life and a culmination of everything in the world. And this is just so particular about how it goes about exploring and exposing so much of that. I can totally see her topping this, but it's not going to be easy. But if anyone can, it's Harune Muri. And actually, those are my 60 favorite albums of the year. Please, 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 please check out some of these albums. I really hope that you found at least some of them interesting to hear about, and maybe, you want to save them to your library, check them out, show your friends, or I guess maybe feel validated about me talking about albums that you already do love. And with that said, I'm going to turn it back to Washington, Connor. Whoa, I'm back! Hey, so anyway, thank you for watching. I plan to be doing this again next year too, because obviously a lot of great music is going to come out all throughout 2026 as well. So stay tuned, like or subscribe at the very least. So that is all. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.